Ashe, Hotep. This is The Truth May Hurt. My name is Ray Witcher, and I am going to do a very short video. Promise. All right. I ran a new video came into my YouTube feed from Azra Kawazi on the origins of the Jesus resurrection and Ten Commandments. As I've mentioned, I have found, and I'm trying to show you, that most of the things that are in the Bible were stolen from our African mythology. And this video covers where the resurrection of Jesus story and the Ten Commandments came from. So I'm gonna play a little bit of this, but what I would like for you to do is go on YouTube, do a search for Azra Kawazi, and subscribe to him. Then do a search for Azra Kawazi, origins of the Jesus resurrection and Ten Commandments, and then watch all of this. But I want you to see part of this because this is one of the brothers that I study from. Also, I would recommend that for those that really want to learn and not believe, but learn and educate yourself. Go on YouTube and search for Kaba Kameni, K-A-B-A, Kameni, K-A-M-E-N-E, and subscribe. Okay, so I pulled up Kaba Kameni on YouTube. I'm gonna give you a little sample of some of the guys that, well, yes, most of the guys that I study from that are professors in their own field. Kaba Kameni, he's a master educator. He studied all African culture, spirituality, and religions. He's overqualified when you compare him to others, unless you're comparing him with the ones that I'm going to show you in this video. So this video may be a little bit longer than I said when I said that this one is going to be a short one. I promise, because I was going to only show you Azra Kawazi. But I want you to, this one is long. This one is like 3 hours. Yeah, it's 3 hours and 30 some minutes. So I don't have time for this, but I want you to just listen to the knowledge that's available for us that are seeking knowledge, seeking truth about ourselves, that will deliver us into our own spirituality that God gave us. Okay, here's Kaba Kameni.
Was an Amen priesthood coming out of his father, who was Amenhotep III. And Amenhotep III and his wife, Queen Tai, that's actually where they get Solomon and Sheba from. And then Akhenaten's son, King Tut, is the story of Jesus. Now, I know I said a lot right there. And I know if you had told me this when I was 9 years old, I would have had a heart attack. But when someone tells a perfect lie, the truth is unbelievable. And then Akhenaten's son, black folk, listen, you know you built America, right? I heard you be supremacists. In fact, I sort of kind of think that that's one of the best things that could, in fact, and Kevin Costner told a story about Whitney Houston because when you know what happened in the past, you can interpret what's happened. The further in front you go and project a projectile. Life. Because you know another thing, and then I'm going to stop on this point. You good. Is that our children, one of the things that our children are experiencing, I see, because I've been with them every day of my life throughout my entire career. I taught in South Central Bronx from 1979, October 79 until July, because you're not supposed to be here. The way they designed this project, we either was going to be on the plantation or we were going to be dead.
Okay,
we're going to
always get him for a minute.
Well, there's two things that children say that I make a point of, is that they seem to see that, like, people who do this kind of work are not very happy. the way we talk is not very happy. We're always, I don't want to say angry, but we're always perturbed about certain things. And to children who are happy and go lucky and always looking for the hope, it becomes interesting because they say, well, why do I want to be like that? So as an African, I'm happy. And I want to show you why you should be happy and productive as an African. To demonstrate, to show by example why it's great to be an African. What is it about being an African? It's because I'm all that. And I'm happy to be all that. The other thing that children say to me, they say, well, Brother Kaba or Brother Booker T, why do I need to know this? You know, why do I need to go to the past? What's the past going to do for me? And I give an example. I took my grandson to a toy store and I saw that they had a Nerf and they had a slingshot. And I always use the slingshot as an example. And the slingshot, the purpose of a slingshot is to put a projectile in the sling and pull it back. And further back you pull it, the further in front you're going to project the projectile. And so that's what history is like. That's what we have to do is like. Particularly those of us who have forgotten, not lost. We didn't lose it. We forgot our history. Because when you lose something for children, you got to go out and look for it. But when you forgot it, all you got to do is remember. So all we got to do is remember this. You know Michael Jackson said, remember the time? Okay. So let me put your mind in this slingshot. And the further back I pull it, the further in the future I'm going to project you. My purpose of pulling your mind back is not to stay here, no more than it is to pull a projectile back. You're not pulling that back just to be like this. You're pulling it back with the intention of pushing it forward. And the further back you pull it, the further in front you're going to project it. And the same is true for your history. The further back you can go in your existence, the further back you can be conscious of who you are and know who you are, the further back you can go to understand what brought you where you are in the present, the further in the future you can project yourself. A prophet is not a psychic. A prophet is just a good historian. Because when you know what happened in the past, you can interpret what's happening in the present, and you can predict what's going to happen in the future. And that's what allows me, as I wind this section up, to tell you something. We as a people are going to get to the promised land. We're on our way there right now. We just don't know it because we're still living part in hell. I grew up Roman Catholic, right? And they used to say, like in Roman Catholicism, like when you died and they didn't know if they really wanted to put you in hell or send you to heaven, that you go to a place called limbo and you'd stay in limbo until either enough people prayed for you or in the Roman Catholic Church put enough money in the pot to get you there, light up enough candles to get you there, or something would happen that you could then prove whether or not you would go to heaven or to hell.
I'm going to speed it up a little bit and find another good spot, and then we're going to move on. Okay, here we go. We're going to play a couple of minutes, and then we're going to move on.
So-called artificial intelligence. I mean, what I've seen done in artificial intelligence is something else. They're building a Black Panther museum where they're literally bringing Huey Newton into the room with you. In other areas of the museum, they're bringing people, and they because of the history of what they know about that individual can talk to you and tell you about. You can go to Tuskegee at the museum there, and they'll talk to you. Booker T. Washington will come and tell you what he did in order to create Tuskegee, and you'll be looking right at him. Didn't they do that with Tupac? Yeah. Okay, so that's a great thing. But now when you take advantage of it and you bring people down and you show them in a negative light, now that's a whole nother thing. Artificial intelligence is neither good nor bad. It's how you use it that determines what it's going to be. That's the way it is in life. Most things in life are not good or bad. This is what Ma'at teaches us. Ma'at, which is the patron, the feminine principle of truth and justice, teaches us. It's not what it is that's bad or good. It's what you do with it. It's whether you let Asar do something with it, which is good, or you let Satan do something which is not good. So it's up to us to make these choices. You got to talk to your ancestors.
Listen.
And when you talk to yourself, I mean, I had a conversation this morning with a whole bunch of my ancestors. When I was looking in the mirror, I was brushing my teeth. I was looking at God. I was talking to God. I was looking at me because I am God, having a human experience, and I know it. See, there are three levels. In humanity, and this comes from John G. Jackson, his book, Introduction to African Civilization. He talks about three levels of the human family coming up out of who they are. There is the level of the savage, the barbarian, and there is the civilized, okay? And these are the three different entities. In the very beginning, as savages, we were like on an animalistic stage, okay? None of these words are bad, by the way, because I know we think of savage as bad, barbarian is bad. We're not dealing with those. I'm taking those words and I'm looking at the human family as the mind and the intellect developed. The savage was the one that had an instinct, that did things through instinct, lived through instinct, knew when it was time to reproduce, knew when it was time to eat, knew when it was time to go to bed. Nature was the one that directed them and told them what to do. At some point in time, as they had a collective experience of learning and growing, the savage became the barbarian. And in the barbarian came a level of doing things that nature told you to do, but doing things that you told yourself to do. You were gaining the power to say no to nature. Then came the point where you became civilized, where you got instinctive intuition, where what you did because you knew nature and nature directed you, but you as a human being of a higher level of consciousness allowed nature to take over, and you took nature to the next level, the higher level of which you were born to do. It was a phenomenal way of doing what you did. As a savage, our philosophy dealt.
Okay, I'm gonna move on and show you Professor James Smalls. This is all of these guys are some of the most intelligent men that you will ever run into on a broad spectrum of things. But when it comes to African spirituality, culture, and religion, nobody challenges these guys. No one challenges these guys because they can prove what they say. So this is a short one. Go to Professor James Smalls and please subscribe, okay? And you will be enlightened.
See, they were our people who were here when we got here. They had come from Mali. They got a record of when they came. But if you know anything about West Africa, like I was explaining, I was in the U.S. Navy and we sailed on that coast. I was stationed in the Gran Canary Islands in Las Palmas, all right? And we sailed down to the Bahamas. Some white guys a month ago got in a damn rowboat in Las Palmas, Gran Canaries, and sailed into the Bahamas. And that's right. So if some crackers today can do it in a rowboat, we were doing it all along. All right? And that's a part of the discussion in Africa, that we were coming and going, visiting this place. We showed Columbus how to get here. He knew he wouldn't go on to know India. Because if he wanted to go to India, he could cross the continent by foot, or come across the Mediterranean and get in the Indian Ocean. He knew where he was going, because the Africans told him what was here. You know, but he couldn't find what he came for. He was looking for the gold and stuff.
Okay, this is Professor Anthony Broder. All right, this is his daughter giving him an introduction. So he's bringing his family into this business. He has dig sites in Egypt now where they're uncovering temples and all of these things. But just listen to him for a minute. We're going to go to the next guy.
Dr. Browder. Thank you for coming, Dr. Browder.
It's my pleasure, and thank you so much for that introduction, Isis. And since I'm going to be talking about Egypt or Kemet quite a bit in my talk this evening, I think it's not a coincidence that I was introduced by someone named Isis. And Isis is considered to be the founding mother of ancient African civilization. So I take that as a good sign, a sign that we're going to have a wonderful evening. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all. And I'll share with you some of my experiences working in Africa, studying in Africa, and the work that we've been doing with the Asa Restoration Project, which has been my life's work. I will do this talk today in the form of a PowerPoint. And hold on a second. I should have done things a little differently. I need to open up the PowerPoint first.
Okay, I'm not going to go through all of this, but as you can see here, this is Dr. Yosef Ben Yachtman. These are the guys, this is Dr. John Henry Clark. These are the guys that I follow and that I study with, and all of them are professors, doctors in their own right. So I'm just breezing through this because this is an hour long, but go to Dr. Anthony Broder and subscribe, okay?
14 books, and I've been excavating tombs in Egypt for the past 12 and a half years. So you'll have an opportunity to see in about 45 minutes the past 40 years of my life. But the highlight of the work that I have been doing is the Asa Restoration Project, which is named in honor of Dr. Asa G. Hilliard, who passed in Egypt in 2007 at a conference. And as I mentioned previously, Asa was a dear friend of mine, and his sudden passing came as a shock. And one of the things that I've learned about African people, African history, and African culture is the importance of remembering your ancestors. And one of the most important things that we have to remember is that as long as you speak the name of your ancestors, they continue to live. That is why we name buildings and institutions and streets after people, holidays after people. It is a way of keeping their memory alive. And so when I became involved with this excavation project, I named it in honor of Asa Hilliard. That was my way of honoring a man who meant so much to me and keeping his name alive.
Okay, Dr. Broder is deeply involved in excavations in Egypt, and I'm going to let you see a little bit of this, and then I'm going to go to the next. But please go to his website. Just go to YouTube, and in the search engine, search for Dr. Anthony Broder, and then subscribe, and all of these things that come to you. Okay, I'm trying to lead you. I'm not trying to take credit for the things that I'm sharing with you. I'm trying to qualify what I'm showing you that either I learned from these professionals or that I found on my own research that these professionals qualified. These professionals ended up, when I started listening to these professionals, they were saying the same things that I was finding. Okay, and it's a reward when you've done your own research, and then you have people like Dr. Broder, Azra Kwesi, Professor Kaba Kameni, that are saying exactly what you found. Okay, so I'm sharing this with you so that you can have the same. I want you to see my sources. I try to show you my sources and my presentations by going on the internet and putting up things, but I've never really gone and made a video while I was putting up the sources that I can share with you, that you can subscribe to and follow these guys. You will grow once we come out of that circle, that everything I need to know is in this circle. There's more outside of that circle to know that's more important than what's inside of that circle, because everything that's in the circle, they gave to you. All right? So let's take a minute here.
So I'm going to show you just one small area that we excavated. This area here, which is the western wall of the tomb. This is what it looked like in 2010, and this is what it looked like 2 years later when we restored the wall And we took the fragments, some of the 30,000 fragments that we found, and then began to insert them in the places in the walls where they originally were. So this is a very tedious process. And if you can imagine, it's similar to putting together a jigsaw puzzle of 30,000 pieces, and you have little idea of what the end result is supposed to look like. University of Illinois, I studied architecture, so I have a profound love for buildings and the creation of buildings, which is one of the reasons why I'm so observant. I'm always looking at elements within buildings, how they were created. And so one of the things that I discovered about the architect who designed this building, the African architect who designed this building, is that the angle of the corona was designed to match the angle of the pyramidion on top of the Washington Monument. That's not an accident. The angle of the corona is 17 degrees, designed to match the 73-degree angle of the pyramidion atop the Washington Monument. So this architect now was not only making a connection Americans and West Africa.
In case you don't know, the building that you see on the left, that is the Black African History Museum in Washington, D.C. And what he's showing you is the architect, who was a Black man, designed this building to be in alignment with the Washington Monument. And a minute or so more into this presentation, he's going to show you that the Washington Monument came from Egypt. It came from what the Greek and the Romans saw in Egypt.
African history and culture and architecture, but by the similarity of these angles of these two structures, he's now connecting this building in America to one of the most important structures in ancient Egypt. He's making connection between African Americans and Africans from the Nile Valley. Here's a picture of the architect. His name is David Ajay. And he made a comment, he made a comparison between the Washington Monument and the monuments that were originally known as Tekkenu.
Now you see the Washington Monument on the right, and the picture on the left is in Egypt.
Call them obelisks. Obelisk is a Greek word. These two Tekkenu can be seen right now in Karnak Temple, the same temple that Karakamen, the priest whose tomb we're excavating, worked at this temple. So the thing that I want you all to take note of is that these Tekkenu in Egypt have their reflection in their sacred lake. So the creation of the Washington Monument in 1888 was designed to represent what Africans had done in the Nile Valley thousands of years earlier. And this architect, David Ajay, saw this connection. As a matter of fact, he referred to Washington, D.C. as Karnak on the Potomac, all right? And he says that at its best, architecture is the physical manifestation of a culture's highest ideals. So the symbol that represents the United States of America, the capital of the wealthiest and most powerful nation in human history, is a 6,000-year-old symbol which represents the husband of Isis, the founding father of ancient Kemet. And the architectural design of this structure was copied from the Nile Valley.
Okay, this is Dr. Ben Yosef Ben Yachtman. These men, nobody challenged them. Dr. Broder, Dr. Kami Kameni, and Azra Kwesi. And now I'm showing you Dr. Ben Yachtman.
Is it possible for Moses to be born in Egypt, educated in Egypt? At age 85, he's still in Egypt, and he did not learn the negative confessions? Is it possible for you to go to school, born in the United States, go to kindergarten, elementary, junior high school, and college, and never heard of the United States Constitution? Then it would have been impossible for Moses, when everybody had to read the negative confession 5 times a day, for Moses not to have seen those 42 laws and extracted 10 of them, leave 32 more.
Okay, what he's talking about is the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments came from the 42 negative confessions. If you will do a search on the 42 negative confessions of Mu'at, And if you notice, whenever I start a video, I say, Ashe, Amat, Hotep. Ma'at is who he's talking about. 42 negative confessions. You will find that the 10 commandments, basically word for word, came from the 42 negative confessions. And what he is saying is that Moses lived in Egypt. He was in Egypt till he was 85 years old. It was a requirement that all Egyptians had to recite the 42 negative confessions, confessing to God 3 times a day, saying, I have not done these things. I have not killed. I have not stolen. I have not slept with my neighbor's wife. The 10 commandments, every one of them, you will find in the 42 negative confessions. Okay? So Moses didn't go on the mountaintop and get the 10 commandments from God. He got them from the laws of Moab. That's what you need to understand. This is Dr. John Henry Clark. He's considered the godfather of this age when it comes to African history, spirituality, and culture. Okay? Nobody challenges these guys. Okay, let's see. Oh man, wait a minute. Okay, I'm gonna let you listen to him a minute.
I was supposed to be here early. They gave me another assignment. They didn't pick me up to go to the assignment. I followed their instructions and waited at the hotel. I would love to be here when I can be more fully in depth on this subject, because there's a whole lot of illusions about Africa's relationship with other people in the world. There's a whole lot of illusion about our relationship to the religions in the world. And these belief systems that had its origin in Africa, all of them, and there is no exception, turned on African people. I said there is no exception. And there's one thing you have to get through your mind and keep it. Nothing that ever came from the European mind was meant to do anything but facilitate European domination of the world. And I said there's no exception. Everything that was brought into this continent, everything, every idea, every so-called religion was meant to dominate and to control. The Arabs had no illusions about it. The Europeans had no illusions about it. You were the ones with the illusions. And yet every element that went into the making of every major religion in the world started in Africa. Why is it that you are so naive? You let people redress something that you invented, sell it back to you, and enslave you through it. I'm saying that all organized present religions are male chauvinist murder cults. And I say there is no exception. Why I wanted to be here early, I wanted to deal with our relationship with the people of the world and the fact that we created peaceful nations that had no word for jail because no one had ever gone to one. No word for old people's home because no one ever threw away grandma and grandpa. No word for orphanages. We did all of this, and over half of human civilization was over before we knew that a European was in the world. Before he wore a shoe or lived in a house that had a window. Now, Africa has always and still is the prize for the whole world. We as a people have always been the world's richest people, culturally rich, mineral rich. We have always been the prize because we have always had and still have something that other people won't, think they can't do without, and don't care to pay for. Because we have always been the prize, we have been under siege for over 3,000 years. Nothing that ever brought into Africa from the outside was meant to do the Africans any good. That means all other religions. Islam was the handmaiden of Arab imperialism. Christianity was the handmaiden of European imperialism. The Hebrew faith was the handmaiden of a concept called the chosen people. Now, if God is kind and God is merciful and God has no stepchildren, he won't choose one over the other. And to say he chose some people, you're making him a bigot. And to say that he endorsed enslavement of one people over the other, you're making him an accessory to murder. The Arabs used Islam to rationalize their slavery and their imperialism. The Europeans used Christianity to rationalize their slavery and imperialism. Who are you kidding about friends in the world? Damn it, if you want a friend, look in the mirror. There's 1 billion African people on the face of this earth. Why are you buying third-rate junk from third-rate people thinking you can't make it? Why don't you at least make a safety pin to hold your child's diaper together? Car. The first man that made a car that had never seen one previously. The Japanese bought cars, bought locomotives, broke them down and studied them, and had a Japanese technician produce each piece, put it together, and had a much better train than the one they copied from. All knowledge in the world belongs to everybody in the world.
Yes.
Who has programmed our mind in assuming that we cannot run a nation and run it well? Who belongs to what religion when all of them were imposed on us in the first place? We stop all this fight between Muslims and Christians when neither one of the religions are doing them any good or moving them toward independence. All of them are handmaids of conquerors. All of them are religions of conquerors. We were naive when we accepted their interpretation of something that we had all along. I'm saying we need to take a good look at ourselves. I'm not talking about burning churches. I'm not talking about getting rid of religions. Understand me well. I am saying that every single thing that touches your life, religious, socially, and politically, must be an instrument of your liberation, or you must throw it into the ash can of history. We have to understand is that faith has not spared us for an idle reason. A whole lot of people who've been hit less than us are extinct. What is there in us that made us strong enough to take this heavy blow? 500 years of slavery, one way or the other. Slavery, neo-colonialism. What made us strong enough to survive? What is faith saved us to do? And inasmuch as we gave the world its first humanity, faith has saved us to give the world its last humanity.
Okay, before I go and end this with Ezra Kwesi, one of the things that Dr. John Henry Clarke said, I couldn't find it on that video. He says that with the knowledge that we have now, or that is available for us to learn our culture, history, and spirituality, he challenges the intelligence of anyone that believes that the Bible, the Quran, and Judaism is historical. All right. I'm going to give you Ezra Kwesi. John Henry Clarke, please subscribe to his channel and the guys that I've shown you.
But King Tutankhamun and Carter in 1922, November 1922, this is where they robbed that tomb. That's me back in the day. Don't look like me now, but that was me back then. Transformation kept a while. We all going to go through it. And Sheikh Abdul Nati told me his father showed Carter where that tomb was at. That Carter didn't discover a thing. King Tutankhamun is the one that gave us an idea into 3,000 years ago, because his was the only one found intact. And going down inside the tomb, you can see, again, it's a small tomb showing an opening of the mouth ceremony for his journey into the eternal life. Coming one with Asar in that whole spiritual journey into the Osirian drama. There you see him with the heka, and then the heka over his body. Now, let's look at that, because now we can see things were copied from Kemet. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me, in Psalms chapter 23, verse 4. Thy rod and thy staff. Where did that rod and staff come from? They copied these ideas directly from ancient Kemet. There we can see I performing the Sim priest ceremony for King Tutankhamun and the opening of the mouth for him to see again, to live again, not in this life, but the next life. But through the making of the Gospels, and Jesus said, he made one see again, made one talk again. They took that, but they didn't understand that that was not for this life, but the afterlife. When King Tutankhamun was able to see again, talk again, and walk again in the spiritual realm, that was called the Sesu, the raising of the dead in the spiritual life through the opening of the mouth ceremony. Through the opening of the mouth ceremony, the time of the mummification of the body was raised up at the coming of the Ka, or the Caress, that is now called the Christ. Here King Tutankhamun is coming one with his Ka, becoming one with, as the Nazis call Caress, which they call Christ today. That means we all have a Ka, we all have a spirit called the Ka, or they call Christ today. As through the mummification of the body, it was done to prepare the spiritual metamorphosis, to change the physical body into the spiritual body, called the Sahu that I talked about. So when we understand this Kariheb Sim priest mummifying the body that we talked about earlier, it's the preparation for the metamorphosis to take place. When we understand that spiritual idea, then let's go back to Mut Netchet. As I said, they were keen observers of Mut Netchet, or Mother Nature. So let's look at the chrysalis, a hard case that protects the moth or the butterfly while it is turning into an adult. Here's something that crawls on the ground, now forms into a cocoon. Something happens into that cocoon, a metamorphosis takes place, and something that once crawled now flies. And showing the keen observation of Mut Netchet, or Mother Nature. So now let's look at European art. Here's a European Jesus wrapped up. If he's going to go up to heaven, just get on up and go. Why you got to wrap him up? But they're copying that idea from ancient Kemet and the mummification of the body. For the metamorphosis, where the Romans didn't understand it, they took it literally, that the physical body would get up, and that becomes the foundation of Western version of Christianity, because here the Roman Christians took the risen mummy for the corpse that was buried in earth. So the preparation of the Kat, what do you see here? The cross. That was for the Sahu, the spiritual body. The X is for the resurrection. So that idea, as you see, with nature itself, called the chrysalis process, that is now a butterfly. That's how they observed these ideas in the mummification of the body. But when the Greeks and Romans came in, they couldn't preserve the body. That's why they had to paint a face on there. When I was in Alexandria, Egypt, this was all Greco-Roman stuff up there. I don't take groups up there, but I go up there to get some research and stuff out of the catacombs here in Alexandria, Egypt. And here we see this symbol is called a bidet. You're going to see it over the temple. I'm showing this because this is the first stage that the Europeans were copying and studying this before Christianity comes on the scene. Here we see a set and the het over the body, wrapped up in a mummification process. So they were already starting to get into this spiritual resurrection and ideas, but they took the body literally. See the dancing Ka. He's dancing because he's not in the swathing. He's free, his spirit, but he's a spirit. He's not a physical body in the afterlife. But the Romans didn't understand it. They took it literally. So here he's dancing. He's got one leg down and one leg up because he's free of the bandages. And he's called the dancing Ka. Have you heard something called the dancing Christ? Did they copy that from the tombs of Kemet? They're the European Serapis Jesus every time you see the image, because that's who developed it. It's a copy directly from the reliefs of the Temple of Herod. There in the books in stone, what makes their version more sacred is when Axia was carved into stone thousands of years ago.
When I tell you that I've done my study and my research, I've gone and looked, and I've studied how to read hieroglyphics. And when I started studying and got turned on to these brothers, I literally, when I give you information on my presentation and I tell you that the things that you see in the Bible, if you study the Egyptian hieroglyphics, the Egyptian original religions, and what our ancestors carved in stone, you'll see the Bible.
The dancing car now becomes the dancing Christ. Even Newsweek came out rethinking the resurrection. Yeah, they rethink. They've been stealing and lying all along. So we come back to the temple to reveal this. This is almost 4 decades of my life, studying these reliefs, and showing them and revealing the dancing car. Transfiguration. They copied these things and created it and made you believe it was real. So you see him going up into the heavens. But that was copied from the reliefs, from the dancing car. Raphael, Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, they just copied these things. Michelangelo used that image of Jesus. It was his uncle. A lot of people worshiping Michelangelo's uncle. Then they brainwash us to the point where some people come to the lecture and come on the trip and want to run, oh, you just talk about my Jesus. Now look at this. Here he's going to the light. Oh, but you're going to Het Heru tomorrow. And what are you going to see at Het Heru? Keen observation, watching, learning these temples, studying. Sometime coming over here without groups so I can take time out to study. Oh, in the ceiling of Het Heru, we see a Sar lying out for his spirit going to the light. Was that copied and ended up in Western art?
This is how to get in shape.
The best way to boost your metabolic rate.
Oh, yes, we got a lot to do.
So there it is. With a nice beam of light coming down.
Yep. That's showing the preparation of his cot into the Sahu, the spiritual body for his Ka to resurrect and go to the light. This is where the Ptolemy studied these ideas at right here.
The light particles going up is actually going up out of the room.
Right. Also, you see a Sar on the Setsu. See him on the Setsu? The Setsu is the funeral couch. So where's the light? See, he's going back to the light. His Ka is going to the light. See the light? And transformation. Mark, who's in Alexandria, Egypt, studying and writing some of the Gospels based off of what? What was told here in these temples, the books in stone. This temple also held great libraries of scrolls. When Alexander came in and got Aristotle to plunder these libraries, and building the Alexandria Library, they studied and studied and studied in the making of a Western version of Christianity. The Purim Aru, first published in the 19th century by a German Egyptologist called Richard Lepsius. This first version was based upon the translation of the Ptolemaic funerary works. Other European Egyptologists produced their version of the Purim Aru. So from the Purim Aru, that's how they started to translate from these papyruses, as they call the Book of the Dead, when it was actually the Purim Aru coming forth by day and by night. To the spiritual realm, and it's Anpu that would take your heart and put on the scales. And an African goddess took her feather that represents Ma'at. She's a cosmic goddess. It had to be weighed even with your heart. If it not weighed in balance, then Amit would come out and get you. They knew you'd do some bad things, but as long as your good deeds outweighed your bad deeds. So Amit comes and eats the heart. This is where these ideas of hellfire and the devil, all this stuff came out of ancient Kemet. But if you understood the microcosmic realm and going back to the macrocosmic realm of the goddess Nut, now you can come back to my cosmic womb because you understand that divine balance and coming back to the goddess Nut. 10 Commandments, the 42 laws of Ma'at I have not committed sin. I have not committed robbery with violence. I have not stolen. I have not slain man or woman. I have not stolen food. I have not swindled offerings. I have not stolen from God. I have not told lies. I have not carried away food. 147 originally broken down to 42, and they pretty much said the same thing, but just like the judicial system or like a lawyer in a courtroom, they would say it a different way to trick you up to see if you're telling the truth. Their only is coming before a Sar, and what happens to his hair as he comes before a Sar? His hair turns white. Is this the same thing we see with Moses? With the tabernacle stones? When I told you to look up when we were walking to the temple, and I said, look at the stones of Ammon. It represents Ma'at, truth, justice, and righteousness, where the idea the Ten Commandments came from. That's the end of the presentation.
Okay, what he's telling you here in this picture, in this comparison picture, is on the right is in Egypt with the God having the 42 negative confessions on top of his head. You look to the left, this is supposed to be Moses with the tablet of the 10 Commandments. The same identical picture, except one has got Moses with the lie that this is historical, that he got his 10 Commandments from God on Mount Sinai. He didn't. He got it from Egypt. When he lived in Egypt, well, he never existed. Moses is a fictitious character like all the rest of them. But you can see the comparison, okay? I'm encouraging you to go to all of these sites on YouTube and just subscribe, okay? And ask your pastor. Ask the people that have been selling us Christianity all of our lives to explain this. And I guarantee you, well, I won't guarantee you, well, I will guarantee you that a lot of them haven't even seen it. They don't know anything about it. All right. So I'm going to say Ashe. Have a great day.